If you'd like online business explained to you in a way that you can actually understand, go to latenightim.com/explain. It's completely free, and I made it just for you. Now, how about an episode? Episode 116.
Late Night Internet Marketing.
This week on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast, we take a lesson from a little listener feedback. We talk about Facebook Live in the news and on television commercials, and we give you a niche site update. All this and more on the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
The Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
You've been working for somebody else, but you want a business to run yourself. You want to know how to start, where to begin. Can you get out your comfort zone, my friend? Yes, you can do it right when it's late at night. At the end of the day, your dreams burning inside. So keep it up and you will find that you're building your business one night at a time.
And now, broadcasting late at night from a little studio in the big state of Texas, your host, Mark Mason.
Hey, how is everyone doing? This is actually going live on the 1st of December. I cannot believe that 2016 is gone. I mean, it's completely unbelievable. You know, I talked about last week a little bit about starting to prepare for 2017, and I mentioned this book to kind of get you in the mood, this free ebook from Michael Hyatt about achieving what matters in 2017, where he gives the eight strategies of all these super successful people that he interviewed. If you didn't get a chance to see that, you can see it over at latenightim.com/BYE book, best year ever book. And it's really cool. It's one of the crazy, fantastic good things about Jeff Walker's product launch formula. If you're in the internet marketing space, like I am, you probably got thousands of emails over the last week promoting Jeff Walker's product launch formula. And that product is super successful because it works. When you use that product launch formula, people buy your product. That's pretty cool. The thing is, the neat side effect is it results in the creation of all this fantastic free content, because Jeff really is all about teaching people to actually deliver the goods when it comes to free content during the product launch. Michael Hyatt's no exception. He's a believer in this product launch formula. So that's what he's doing with that launch. He's giving away excellent content. And this week, he released this LifeScore assessment. And we talked about this last year. I took this last year, took it again this year. This is super appropriate for people who tend to be listening to this podcast. Because if you're listening to this podcast, chances are it's because you identify with me and my situation, being a part-time entrepreneur, side hustle kind of guy. I'm burning the candle at both ends a lot of time. And what LifeScore tries to do is give you a score on the game of life. But the key thing is it ranks you in the different areas of your life: health and relationship, finances, and business, and some other things. And so it's pretty cool. It's neat because I guess, you know, one of the things I've learned from corporate America is that we do the things that we measure. We worry about the things that we're graded on. And so if you grade yourself in the different areas of your life, you can understand where the gaps are, and then you can measure it, say, on a quarterly basis and try and get better. And when I set my goals for 2017, I'll be looking at this LifeScore tool, which again is completely free. It takes about 3 minutes. Maybe 5 minutes. It's a self-assessment, sort of where you are in your life. And so I recommend that you get it. You can get that over at latenightim.com/LifeScore. Now, of course, Michael Hyatt's in the middle of a product launch. And so what's happening here is Michael's delivering great free content. You're going to opt in to get this LifeScore assessment. It's totally worth it. And Michael's going to continue to deliver you fantastic information on the hopes that you'll be so impressed with the stuff that he has to offer you that you'll actually buy his best year ever course, which the cart for that's going to open in a couple of weeks. And so just by way of full disclosure, it's an affiliate link that I'm giving you, but this is an internet marketing show. So we want to have these things out in the open, right? But the LifeScore assessment is worth taking. So even if you just go there, get the assessment and immediately unsubscribe, I think that can be a real eye opener for people like me, if that's you, who are struggling to keep all the balls in the air. You know, I talk about that on the show a lot. And a lot of times the ball I have dropped in the past is this ball, the podcasting ball. And as you know very well, I am super highly committed to never, ever dropping that ball again. But that means I've got to worry about maybe dropping another ball, whether that's a marriage ball or a taking care of my kids ball or managing my personal finances ball or whatever it means. You know, my health, that's the hard one for me. I mean, I'm always looking to lose a few pounds or maybe more than a few. And so whenever I'm sitting in front of the microphone podcasting or doing whatever, it's hard for me to do that. And that's the kind of issue, this kind of struggle that entrepreneurs like us have, that this LifeScore assessment tries to get at. So definitely recommend that you pop over there and grab that. Even if you have no interest in spending money on Michael's course, it'll be time well spent. Again, you can get that assessment at latenightim.com/LifeScore.
And now, it's time to hear what listeners just like you are thinking. Late night listener feedback.
So a quick thing on listener feedback. Well, maybe not so quick, because I got this SpeakPipe voicemail from Phil Zito, a listener of the show. Thanks, Phil. It was super cool. I love SpeakPipe because you get this really clear audio that you can hear and understand really well. It comes to my email inbox. You can find that over at latenightim.com/connect, where you can find all the places to connect with me. And Phil says, "Hey man, thanks for the podcast. I enjoy it, but your site, I can't find the podcast. Your social media links are broken. And here's some things that you may not be aware of." And sure enough, I wasn't aware of them. There's a lot of things changing on the site. As you guys know, I've been in the middle of a huge site redesign, complete and total from the grounds up sort of redesign over the last couple of months. And I keep uncovering these things that appear to be correct, but they're not. And people keep bringing them to my attention. So Phil, I really appreciate that. I think the bigger lesson is, though, for that is that sometimes you're going to get some criticism about whatever it is that you do. And in the case of Phil, he couldn't have been any nicer. I mean, he was like super polite and says, "Hey, I'm only mentioning this because you might not be aware of it, and I'm trying to help you." Sometimes the feedback is not so polite. Phil was awesome. Not everybody is. I think the thing that we have to do as content creators is take the feedback, and our first position has to be something that's not defensive. I think the first thing we have to do is say, okay, thanks for the feedback. Appreciate you taking the time to do that. And then try and get the nuggets of information out of whatever the feedback is. Because as my wife likes to say, there's a little bit of truth in everything that we say. So if people give you some kind of criticism or feedback based on the content that you're creating, in Phil's case, it was technical, fact-based feedback delivered very politely. But in some cases, it's kind of nasty, opinion-based feedback delivered not so politely. A lot of times, there's something to that. You know, somebody tells you they don't like the sound of your voice, or you ramble too much, or you talk about yourself too much, or whatever. Usually, that's worth considering. Now, you may consider it and choose to ignore it. And as they say in showbiz, haters gonna hate. So, I mean, you're always going to have these detractors. People are going to go out of their way to call you up and call you out and tell you they don't love you for whatever reason. And you have to have a thick skin against that. But I think you're missing an opportunity is if all you do is have a thick skin and you have this big wall, big barrier that you put up in front of people, and you don't try to listen to whatever nuggets of truth there are in the feedback that they're bringing you. I think you're missing a real opportunity. So lesson for today on listener feedback is hear your critics, hear the core of what they're trying to say before you totally blow them off. Hey, Phil, thanks for the feedback. Really appreciate it. Hope you have a fantastic day, dude.
This week, in the world of internet marketing news.
So one of the ways that I have renewed my commitment to podcasting and making sure that I get everything done that needs to be done in my internet business and grow it in the way that it needs to be grown is I'm trying to really keep a lid on my non-value added entertainment. This would be like television, but I do still watch television. My wife and I watch a little TV together occasionally. I like the Dallas Cowboys, as many of you know, and I love the Texas Rangers. Thankfully, baseball season is over for the moment, so I'm not constantly distracted by baseball. But the Cowboys are crushing it right now. And for those of you, I apologize, for those of you that are outside the United States, I'm talking about American football, not what you would call real football. I do get that. But, American football, the one with the ball that's shaped sort of like a rugby ball. That's what I'm talking about. And so when I was watching football the other day, I saw these ads that I'd been hearing about for Facebook Live. I thought that was totally fascinating. You talk about something that has penetrated the mainstream consciousness of the entire planet. Facebook is kind of amazing, just the level of penetration that they've been able to get. But the question is, what does it mean to you and me that Facebook is spending hundreds of millions or tens of millions of dollars on ads on television? I don't really know what the budget is, but I know TV ads are expensive, and I've seen dozens just in the little bit that I watch TV of primetime ads. So I know they're spending a lot of money. And I think, one of the things that I keep hearing about is that one of the things that Facebook is concerned with inside of Facebook, kind of secretly, is this phenomenon they call content collapse. And I think what Facebook is seeing is that people are sharing less and less of updates about what's going on in their life during the day. When Facebook first started, a lot of people updated all the time, and in fact, maybe too much, about what they were having for breakfast, what they were doing, a picture of what was going on of their baby, and so on and so forth. And I think the data, Facebook doesn't talk about this directly, at least not very much, but the data that is being discussed is this idea that as far as content, that original content that's being created, that's actually on the decline inside of Facebook. And so Facebook Live, which was a pet project of Mark Zuckerberg himself, I think at one level may be an effort to get more original content created on the platform. After all, content on the platform is the lifeblood of a tool like Facebook. So that may be an indication that they're fighting that, or, at the very least trying to grow it. Another problem that Zuckerberg has is he's running out of earthlings to get Facebook to. I mean, at some point, the majority of people that have computers and phones have a Facebook account. When you reach that, you're kind of saturated. So you've got to grow in another axis, which would be the amount of content that's created. And the great thing about video is it engages you and keeps you on the screen, if it's a good video, for however long that video runs. And the neat thing about that is when you make your money selling ads, the more engagement you have, the more those ads are worth. The more time on page that you have, the more you can charge for ads, the more clicks you'll get, and so forth. And so when people are flying through their news feed, if video stops them, that's a good thing. The other thing about Facebook Live that I think is critical for Facebook and very interesting is that it's creating some urgency around getting to Facebook. So right now, with the newsfeed algorithm the way it is, if you set live video aside, you can check Facebook pretty much whenever you want. There's no reason for you to stop what you're doing right now and pause this podcast and go check Facebook. But if I've got your attention and your phone dings and it says so-and-so is live while you're listening to my podcast, well, there's a very good chance that you might pause my podcast to go check out the live video. Now, how dare you ever consider doing that? But I'm sure there's one or two of you out there that might actually pause this incredibly valuable podcast and go over and check out the Facebook Live video. And that's what Facebook wants. It has that urgency. It has that Snapchat thing. You know, we don't want to miss someone's Snapchat story because it's about to disappear, or we don't want to miss someone's Periscope because it's live right now. And so Facebook Live has that sense of urgency. And so all those things are good things. What does that mean for us? For us marketers, I think it means that what you've been hearing from people, that if you're not in Facebook Live and you're not doing it, you probably should be, or at least thinking about whether or not you should be. I think for me, Mark Mason from Late Night Internet Marketing should be doing more Facebook Live. It's tricky. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do about that because, you know, we just talked about this fact that podcasting's at the top of my list, and adding in another thing probably means some other ball has to drop somewhere. So I have to personally be careful about adding too many things. But for you, I think you need to be thinking about whether or not Facebook Live makes sense for you. What does your reach look like? And I think I like Facebook Live a lot better than Snapchat because the content persists. You can download it and repurpose it. If people aren't there live, they get a pseudo live, kind of like recorded webinar experience. It's really nice where the comments come in at the same rate that they came in and the same time they came in during the video. So it's super cool. So my action for you out of all this and the Facebook Live information that's in the news and on your TV in commercials now is to make sure you've at least given some thought to whether or not you need a Facebook Live strategy. It can be as simple as getting your phone and turning it on and hitting the live button, or as complicated as getting in a studio and cranking up some studio-worthy software like Wirecast from Telestream if you got $500 in your pocket, or OBS Studio. If you don't, you can set up a whole studio and do screen sharing and all that kind of stuff in Facebook Live. So I encourage you to take a look and see if live streaming makes sense from you. For me, you're going to see some live streaming from me. We'll see when and what that's going to be like. Kind of right now, what I'm thinking is some question and answer sessions where maybe once a week I get on Facebook Live, probably at night, and do some live question and answer stuff. Maybe have a couple of prepared questions that I answer while people are getting on the live stream, and then have some take questions live, maybe something like that for half an hour. So thinking about that, if you got some feedback on that, head on over to the show notes at latenightim.com/116 and let me know what you think. I'm kind of on the fence on exactly what I'm going to be doing with Facebook Live.
Whether you say niche or niche, it's time for an update on the Late Night Niche site.
All right, so I wanted to give you a niche site update. So when last we spoke about the niche site, we spent some time identifying a niche. We decided it was youth baseball. And then in a subsequent episode, we talked about how to select a domain name. We created the ultimate domain name checklist, which is available for you in the show notes. If you want to come to the show notes at latenightim.com/116, you can find a link to that checklist. And we bought the domain name youthbaseballzone.com, and that's been sitting idly since that time. So tonight what I did, and it only took 5 minutes, is I logged into SiteGround, which is the place where all my niche websites start now. And I created some hosting space for youthbaseballzone.com, basically inside of cPanel, which is software that you use inside of tools like SiteGround. I told it I was adding a domain and that it was called youthbaseballzone.com. And I pushed a button and installed WordPress. And so by the time you hear this, there should be a very minimal landing page at youthbaseballzone.com set up that says the website is coming soon. And what I'll be doing over the next weeks is configuring WordPress a little bit, installing a theme. I plan to use the Elegant Themes framework called Divi, and that's super beautiful. That's what I've been using for all my sites. You can check that out at latenightim.com/Divi. I absolutely love that thing. That's what's running latenightim.com now. And we're going to build something cool. I'm going to create some content, and we're going to build out this niche website. That's the plan for the Late Night Niche site. So we've taken the next step. Youthbaseballzone.com is up and running. It exists, and it was super easy to do that with WordPress. And I'm looking forward to creating some content for that site that's going to really bring it to life so you can kind of see what it looks like to build an affiliate niche site. Hopefully in the month of December, we'll have another episode where we talk about the configuration of WordPress and the different plugins that I'm going to use or that I typically use on a site like this, to kind of give you an idea of what happens after you hit that one-click install button that you'll find in most of your hosting solutions like SiteGround and Bluehost and so forth. All right, so that does it for this week. Short, sweet, and to the point. Next week, we're going to talk about some more feedback that I've been getting. You know, I have this cool automation. If you follow me on Twitter over at latenightim.com/Twitter, also you can find me at twitter.com/latenightim. Cool how that's all symmetrical and everything. But if you go over to Twitter and you find me and you click the follow button, what you'll find out is that sometime later, I will mention you and say, hey, thanks for the follow. I really appreciate it. What can I do to make your day awesome today? And then in about a week after you follow me, I'll tweet you and I'll say, hey, thanks again for the follow. What can I do to make your day? Is there anything I can do to make your day awesome? And then finally, at some future time after that, I'll tweet you and I'll ask you, hey, what's your biggest internet marketing challenge? Now, these initial prompts are automated because I have people following me all the time. And obviously, I can't reply to every follow. I can't track that, but I can have automation do that. But I do reply to every reply. So if someone says, you know, you can make my day awesome by sending me $1 million, I either reply to them with, yeah, right, or I send them $1 million. You'll have to try that and see what happens. But one of the feedbacks that I've been getting is procrastination is one of the things that is really causing people a lot of trouble. When I say, what's your biggest problem? I get the answers back of procrastination and or finding the time, which I think are a lot of times somehow related. So in next week's episode of the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast, we're going to tackle this procrastination and finding time thing and see if we can't help you get some more stuff done during your week, and so that you can make progress on your internet business. Until that time, until next week, I hope you make some progress so that you won't feel so bad about the procrastination. Don't procrastinate waiting on the procrastination episode. Go ahead and get something done this week. Ciao.
You can do it right when it's late at night.
You've been listening to the Late Night Internet Marketing Podcast.
Be sure to visit latenightpodcast.com today to leave feedback for Mark. Download special bonus content, access the show notes, and more. See you there.
Until then, go and make some great progress on your internet business. One night at a time.
One night at a time.
It's 1 o'clock.
Okay, that was my new MacBook Pro. I have it configured, I don't know why, to tell me the time on the hour every hour. I bet you didn't even know a Mac could do that. It does. It's a setting in the operating system. And I guess it's an accessibility setting. And I don't normally do that. And I don't know why it was on, but it just scared the ever living, you know what, out of me. New MacBook Pro, not yet quite properly configured. Absolutely beautiful. There's been a lot of controversy in the media about, you know, whether Apple made good choices in their MacBook Pros and how come they aren't more awesome than they are and so forth. You know, there's a lot of just more than the usual amount of controversy around these machines. I absolutely love mine. I moved up to the 15-inch version. They made it smaller in every direction and lighter, and finally got the 15-inch down to a size that I could tolerate on airplanes and carrying around every day. And I love it. I absolutely love it. It's beautiful. There's been a lot of controversy around the keyboard. I actually really like the keyboard. And of course, it has this very cool touch bar at the top of the keyboard. And so I'm very happy with this laptop. I am a little bummed out. Not bummed out, but because I understand the philosophy, but having only USB-C ports on it is a little bit of a problem for me, particularly at my day job, because every conference room has HDMI. And so I've got to carry a dongle around with me until the company deploys USB-C dongles in every conference room. And, you know, I don't know how long that's going to take them to get that nailed down, but yeah, super cool. Really, really like the MacBook Pro. If you have questions about the MacBook Pro, just tweet me or give me a shout, because I love talking Apple. I'm a certified Apple fanboy, and that's my disclaimer. I love just about everything that Apple does, sometimes irrationally so. I admit it. The laptop is super expensive, probably paid way too much for a laptop, but I love it. I love OS X. And so if you got questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you. Until then, ciao.
Late night internet marketing.
Hey, it's Mark again. I wanted to tell you one more time about this absolutely free resource that I have for helping people who are trying to get the big picture for internet marketing, actually get started and understand what all their choices are. If that's not you, there's no more content. You can skip to the end. But if you're someone who came to this podcast because you're searching for how to get started online and you just can't cut through all the noise, I get it. That was me in 2007 when I was trying to get started. There were so many people throwing offers at me that I really couldn't even understand what all the different business models were. I couldn't understand how money moved around on the internet. And I couldn't really get a grip on what direction I wanted to go in so I could figure out how to move forward. I've created a free video resource for you just for that purpose at latenightim.com/explain. In several short videos, I just explained to you what internet marketing is all about and what online business is all about and the different options that you have for starting an online business. There's nothing to buy there. You just sign up for access and you get the videos just like that. So if that's interesting to you, or if you know someone who's in a same situation, send them that link, latenightim.com/explain, and let me know what you think. I'd love to hear what people are thinking that are in the exact same position that I was in more than a decade ago in 2007. In some ways, it seems like yesterday. And in some ways, it seems like an entire lifetime ago. Again, that's latenightim.com/explain.
Late night internet marketing.